Hello, friends, and welcome to Belly Talk, a podcast made for bears by bears. This is a space to have deeper conversations about the bear experience and to help us all open up and be vulnerable and grow together. My name is John Fisher. I also go by Coach Cub. I am a certified health and wellness coach who's been working with bears for over a decade, facilitating classes and workshops and retreats. I'm very passionate about helping people find self-love and acceptance of their bodies. I'm also passionate about connection and community and overall joy. I'm excited to be here with my co-host, Johnny Bear.
Hey, yeah, I'm Johnny Bear. Welcome to the podcast. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a personal chef, and I'm also a multi-trauma survivor. I'm looking forward to addressing issues such as body shame, such as personal shame, such as growth, such as healing, such as sex, or any of the number of things that we experience on a daily basis.
And we hope you enjoy this upcoming episode. You can learn more about the classes that we run in New York City and beyond, the retreats in Portugal and all over the US, and even find some fun merch all at coachcub.com. So I hope you unbuckle your belt, let that belly out, take a deep breath, and enjoy the show.
Right on.
All right, so welcome to Belly Talk. We have a very special guest with us today, someone who I'm going to fangirl over because I've been following him for 2 years. And yeah, it's just an honor to have him. So we have Janusz Domagała on with us, who was on Great British Bake Off 2 years ago and has now done some really neat stuff. So yeah, we're really excited to talk to you about what's been going on in your life and talk body positivity stuff and all the things that our community loves. So first of all, welcome to the podcast, Janusz.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to do this little talk. And well, if you want to listen me talking about my life and everything, then you're in the right place.
Perfect. We'll have a chat. And I have, just for you, because I know you love RuPaul, I have my RuPaul candle so I can light it for us. So there's good energy on the chat. But how are you? Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm really well. I'm now in Nottingham in UK. So just before a little event when I'm going to be signing my book in a bookshop. So I've got a podcast going on with you. Then I'm going out to sign my book. It's all really exciting at the moment.
You're a busy girl.
I'm very busy, yes. I'm not going to lie.
Well, we're honored that you took time with us. So Johnny Bear here, he's a chef. So I feel like you'll be doing the food angle. He knows more about cooking than I do. But Johnny Bear, I'm so glad that you're here with us as well.
Yes, and we're so happy to have you here right over the pond. And I'm so excited. I haven't read your book yet, but I know I'm going to be seeing John this weekend, and he has a couple of copies. So I look forward to reading it. But my question is, what was your inspiration for the book?
I think, well, when I was approached by a publisher and they've asked me to make a cookbook, I knew straight away I want my cookbook to be pride themed. I do think pride at the moment is something really important. Visibility is really important, and that's something really close to my heart, and that is something really important to me as well. So I came up with an idea doing a pride book. But at the same time, apart from doing a pride book, I didn't want this to be just a book filled with colorful recipes, and all of them having like no meaning behind it. It's just, throwing a food coloring onto stuff and then saying, yeah, this is a pride book. So I've put a lot of thought into having this book, like what chapters do I want to have? And as well, how do I tell the reader about what pride is and what's the history of pride, what pride means to me, and how do I do it through baking? So I think I spent like 2 weeks just planning this book. And that obviously put me behind with my baking schedule. So then I haven't slept for 2 months. So yeah, that was great. So that's how I came about, with no sleep and plenty of baking.
So just delirious glitter and baking and confectionery stuff. Yeah, it looks so fun. So it's baking with pride, and we'll probably get to it again later in the episode. And I do have two copies coming, so they haven't arrived yet. I wanted to do the hold it up in the camera, but it'll be here soon enough. Speaking of baking, and obviously that's what put you on the map, and I saw you on Great British Bake Off 2 years ago and was like, just, oh my gosh, this is somebody from our community who's representing us. And you're obviously so charming on the show. And I was just wondering, because I know you really showed off a lot of parts of you, which I think resonated with folks like us who need representation. And I know going, into the show and afterward, you reflected on the fact that, you did have a lot of representation that you needed to show off, being Polish, being a bigger body, being gay and queer. And I think you did a stellar job at it. So I'm just wondering, what was going on in your mind as you got called to do British Bake Off? Were you conscious of all that? And going into it, how did that affect how you approach the show?
You being called that you got onto the show, you just freeze in a time. And I was thinking to myself, I need to say something to this woman. I need to say something to this woman who's saying I'm on the show. And the only thing that came out of my mouth was, shut up. But of course, then the reality kicks in and you understand what you're going to be doing. You're going to be on TV. Everybody will see it. And you're just thinking to yourself, well, I'm not from UK and I'm going to be on a British show. This show, again, airs in USA and it's really big in USA. You need to get your wardrobe ready. You need to get your recipes ready. So I just thought to myself, okay, I can represent, I can wear Pride t-shirts and hopefully I will be able to finish them off. I did. If I didn't, I would just keep it quiet and be like, oh yeah, I just wore random colors. Great. No, I wouldn't, but it's just a joke. But I thought there were so many things that, you have to be visible, and you cannot not be yourself. I think when you're on TV, if you're trying to be someone who you're not, I think everyone will find out it sooner or later, and you're not going to do an impact. And as well, I am from Poland. So you need to understand that when I was a kid, when I was a boy, I have never seen two men holding hands on a street. So when I came to UK, my first day in Brighton, I was like, oh my God, they are men here holding hands. This is great. I feel visible. I feel represented. So this is something I really missed when I was young. And that's why when I went on the show, I was like, I'm really sorry. People need to see this, that, you can hold hands in public, being openly gay, fine. Because we really shouldn't be stressed about our sexuality, we're gay, some people are straight, doesn't matter, completely not. So, if you want to hold hands with men, absolutely fine. I don't understand why you cannot do it in Poland. So for so many people who are in UK, who are abroad, who are immigrants living their, true lives, I thought, yeah, I need to show it. This is possible, because Bake Off doesn't only air in United States. Bake Off aired in Poland as well, on a Food Network channel, as I believe. I know because I've done a little adverts, voiceovers for them. So I just thought this visibility is so important, because if there's little boy in Poland seeing me being in UK completely yeah, great, I'm gay, fine, I'm bigger, even better. That might change, even if it changes one life, I've already won something.
Yeah, and I think it changed a lot of lives, even folks like us. I mean, I'm from New York City. I've been openly gay for so long, but still, seeing you be fully comfortable with who you are on TV was powerful. And I think you did such a great job at being authentic. When it comes to, and also I just want to say, I love that you called your boyfriend Hun Bun, which is just really showed off who you are. It's you weren't hiding anything, and your comfortability came through, and that also related to your body size and being a bigger body person. So I'm curious about just kind of where did the comfortability come for you to feel comfortable in your body? And was that always the case, like growing up and into your adulthood? Did you feel good and comfortable in your body?
I was always comfortable with my body. I think I never had body image issues. And my best friend, Kasia, she's a female, just so you know. She's a bigger bodied girl as well, and we sort of bonded since a very early childhood. And we were chubby kids, we were chubby teenagers, now we are chubby adults, and this sort of state, and we're always friends. So we were sort of like, when people were making fun, she would grab my belly and just go, oh, look at this, and I would grab hers as well. So we were just really comfortable with ourselves, and I think that's really important because you need to love your body. This is your body. Like, don't stress over it. It is your body. You love it. You're fine.
Has it always been that way for you? And what was that like making that determination in your head that it's okay to be you?
I mean, since my early childhood, I knew it's okay to be me because my parents, that might be not story for everyone in Poland, of course. I'm just speaking for myself. Like, my parents and my family were really loving, really open as well. So I could come to them, talk about my sexuality and say to this. And I was still loved. It was absolutely perfect for them. Nothing changes. Of course, in Poland, this is not everyone's story. And I need to say that all of my family are sort of skinny bodied and very short, and I am the only person who's sort of bigger, but they would never make fun of me, and they would be like, you're fine, it's okay, who cares? So I think that sort of was introduced to me from the very early age, like, you know what, he's a bigger kid, who cares? Like, there was never an issue. So I think if somebody doesn't put this into your head from the childhood, that this is an issue, then as an adult, you might be much more accepting as well. And when I went to school, I went to actually one of the best schools in my city. So I think because the kids I was surrounded with, and then teenagers, like, they would never make fun of somebody else's body. Like, in my class, there was a girl who was very big as well, and nobody would dare, because if somebody would say something from a different class, we would all go like, do you really mean to say this? Do you really want to be this douchebag? So, I think it all sort of comes up from how I was brought up and how lucky I was in this instance as well.
That's amazing to be in that kind of setting, like to not have fat shaming or, bullying of that type is kind of unheard of in most places in the US and probably.
And trust me, if somebody would try to fat shame me, I would just show them my gut. I would just pull my t-shirt up and would be like, yeah, that's what you mean?
I did that. We did a food tour in New Orleans 2 weeks ago. So we were walking through New Orleans with a group of bears, and my belly was hanging out over my polo shirt. And some guy was like, oh, there's more belly than shirt. And I just pulled it up and I just started slapping my belly. Because it's like, yeah, I love it. So that's great that you had that, environment to come up in terms of your body. But then you did say, like, you didn't really see gay representation until you moved to the UK. So what was that like in childhood, being around friends and growing up as gay?
Oh, yeah. So growing up as gay in Poland, you can imagine how great it was. Like, it was a post-communistic country, and you need to understand that anything out of norm was sort of pointed towards to, like, this is not a normal behavior, like, you shouldn't be gay. So of course there wasn't any representation of any sort whatsoever. Hence why, you just feel like you should be hiding this part of yourself from the others. So when I went to school, like, I never told my friends that I'm gay. Obviously they've got eyes, they could see it, like, that wasn't a big secret anyway. But it wasn't like an open conversation you would have with someone and just inform them, yeah, I'm gay, great. I just said it, now you can deal with it or not. So yeah, I came to UK and I could just see that you can live your true life and be yourself, and that's found my place on the planet. I was like, well, I'm not leaving back to Poland, because what's the point?
That's so beautiful, and it's such a great representation for all of us, and an inspiration. After the show aired, what was the reception back home for you and for your family? Was it all positive? Was there any negative?
So like all the feedback I've got from here and from USA was really positive. Like there was not a single negative comment about this. Like I need to say how lucky I was. It was literally great. Like I had an easy ride. Like I know about previous contestant who was extremely fat shamed and it was shocking, but I wasn't. And it was all just so super positive, so super great. And I think as well, I've addressed it on the very beginning. Like I've said, I'm fat. Fat is not the bad word. And, who cares? And then people cannot, I took power over the situation. And then people cannot say, oh, he's so fat, because I'll be like, yeah, duh, I just said it a post ago. Like, why do you repeat what I've just said? Like, you cannot read or something? And in Poland, I need to say Bake Off has such a small following. It's like on a cable network, and nobody really in Poland uses cable network because it's so 90s there about cable network. Like, you've got better platforms to stream on. So, unfortunately, because this is just on one cable network channel, not many people see it. So there wasn't any comments or anything, I have not heard that.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think there's power to, being authentic. It's like, if you're just, this is me and I'm going to own it, like, it takes the power away from people. It's a shame that people have to do that to not get bullied, but it's beautiful that you're able to show that and take power away from anyone who may, come at you for whatever reason. Just kind of like backing up the truck, as we say, where did your love for baking come? Because Bake Off is an amateur baking competition. I'm a huge fan of it. I absolutely love the whole vibe of it. But when did you start baking? Who inspired you to bake? And what has your baking journey been like throughout your life?
If it comes to baking, I remember that my mom used to bake like every Saturday. I mean, she would make an apple cake, apple pie, or a cheesecake. It would be like, sort of a mom bake, something home style, really rustic, no decoration, one tin, one pan, whatever bakes. So yeah, my mom used to bake every Saturday, and it was like her sort of therapy. Like, that's how she relaxed in the morning, and then she had like puddings for 2 days for the whole family. And when I was growing a bit older, I sort of got interested in what she's doing there, and I really want to do it as well. So this sort of started me really slowly, like, whisk those eggs, or, sieve the flour, sieve the icing sugar. So I started sort of baking with her, and, I carried over. And by the age, like when I was moving out to uni, I've actually could bake stuff. It was very rustic and, a home vibe baking. But I could bake when I moved out to uni. And when I moved out with my best friend Kasia, again, because we went to the same uni. Great. So we were sort of stuck together for our uni time. We sort of carried over with this tradition, and we've baked every Saturday, sometimes very hangover because that was Saturday. And when you're in the uni, you know what happens on Friday.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Sometimes those bakes were like, full butter, sugar, and just some flour. And it would be like the most fattening cake you've ever had, because that's what you crave when you're hangover. And sometimes you would make a cheesecake or something else, but we sort of made it nearly every week. And then, of course, we finished uni. She moved to Spain, I moved to UK, and I sort of stopped baking for a moment. I was maybe baking every now and then something little for my friends, but it wasn't like before, like every week. But then my boyfriend Simon, he's bought me for one Christmas a KitchenAid. And because he has such a big family, because I was baking anyway for his family, he has such a massive family that like there is an occasion every 2 weeks, there's a birthday or something, and I will make something little for people, like maybe some biscuits, or maybe make a single cake with some just frosting on the top, done. So he bought me a KitchenAid and said, well, maybe you should practice your decorating skills, because now you've got KitchenAid and you've got no excuse. And I was like, nobody needs a KitchenAid. Why would you need it? You've got a hand with, like, man, come on. No mistake. Yeah, you need a KitchenAid in your life. And this is not a promo, because I'm not sponsored for them. Like, you cannot even be sponsored in UK by KitchenAid, because they no longer have a UK office. So I feel like I'm giving them advertisement, but yeah, they're great. Like, you need a stand mixer to like achieve those beautiful bakes, because oh my God, it is so much easier. It takes no time. Your hand doesn't hurt of hand whisking something like this over time. Trust me, it's great. So then I started decorating my cake, started stacking them, and I just sort of get hung on of icing really nicely, very quickly. That was really easy to me. But I really struggled with the neat tops on my cakes. So like the bottom, like the sides will be perfect, nice and smooth, no holes, nothing. And the top will be just a disaster. And I was always thinking, like, what can I do to hide it? So that's how my drip came around. I was like, oh, maybe that's the solution. And actually, if you put drip on your cake, you hide all of this. Nobody can see it, and it looks absolutely perfect. So my drip came out of this. So even on a show when I was making some of the cakes, like I remember we made a tres leches big cake. It was only iced on the side. I was running out of time, so the top was just the drip. There was no even icing on top of this cake.
So with baking, there is, for me, it's such a passion career, if you want to call it, but there is an art form to it. And I noticed on episode 2, you had to create a biscuit mask, and you created it out of abstract art. Is art important in your life? What are some other things that you're passionate about in your life?
Well, if it comes to baking, definitely, it's like being a chef plus a little bit more, because it's like being a Michelin chef, where it's not only the flavor and the dish that's mattered, it's how it's presented, how it's built, how it's constructed, how everything sort of reacts with the other element of the dish as well. So yeah, baking is definitely a passion. It's definitely an art. It's definitely something that you need to explore as well to get better. So it's like if you're painting, the more you do it, the more you explore different styles, the better you get. Of course, on Bake Off, you need to play towards your strengths. So I really panicked on the beginning, and you probably couldn't see it, but I was really panicked. You couldn't see it because it was at home. I don't know why I said it. That's why nobody could see it. I panicked. Because when you're getting ready for Bake Off, you're thinking, oh my God, we need to make a house made out of cake. And I was just standing there thinking, how I'm gonna do this? This is like in 4 hours impossible. And my boyfriend said, but you can make a cake and you can decorate a cake. So just think of making a cake and decorating it as a house. And I was like, well, that makes more sense, yes, because I was like, how do I even approach this situation? And I think
like I have to go study architecture and
yeah,
come back in years from now.
And then I went to a sort of fully artistic childhood, sort of like a child would draw a block of flats. That's what I've made. I was thinking to myself, okay, I can draw it, so I can make it into a cake. It's absolutely fine. So I played towards my strengths, definitely. And as well, as you said, with the mask, that was definitely playing to my strengths as well. I've just been we were like a couple of months before, we went to Paris with Simon parents as well. So we've seen all the art and everything. And I was thinking everyone will make a scary mask or mask with feathers or sort of Venetian style Italian masks. That will be the masks that everybody will make. And I was like, if I want to make it into an art form, what would I do? And I was thinking this will be great if every element is so different. It all looks sort of like you shouldn't put them together. That might work really well. Of course, it was one of the easiest to do from all of them, because you could see there were some, dramas with them falling apart, being underbaked, and then cracking. And I probably chose the easy way out of it. But at the same time, if I wanted to do something like this, there was no really room to make the mask round, because then how would you put something on it? So in 4 hours challenge, again, there is not enough time, and not enough time to prepare for it as well, because probably if you wanted to bake every single thing to match it, you will have to make molds. And I'm sorry, Bake Off is filmed in such a short notice, you won't be able to even order them, make them, or things like this. Impossible. And art is important, I think, for creativity purposes. So I think everyone who's creative has something they really like about art. And, that might be an art of being a drag artist. I'm talking for too long and now I need to drink some water. Great. I'm sorry, you feel like I'm
All
going
good.
to a sort of, yeah, so as well, drag artists, this is a great art form. I love it because they're not only performers, they've got the fashion sense, they can do stuff as well. So this is a great art form you can follow because performing is art as well. You can go to a contemporary art gallery, contemporary art gallery. They are great as well because you can see some really unusual stuff. Like now I've been to Toronto and I see their contemporary art museum, and it was such a exhibition that there was one thing that really sort of spoke to me. There was a lady and she took water from a river with all the packages of sneakers and whatever was on it, and just left it in the clear boxes, and you could smell it, you could see it, you could see what was growing in it, all the rubbish as well. So people have really concept of art is so wide that probably everyone who's creative is doing art.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up drag because I knew that was an influence for you. And but it's funny to hear the backstory of the drip because you're so known for the drip cake.
They're perfect.
And in my mind, I was like, maybe that's because of drag. Like I'm thinking it's almost like a wig, right? So it's good to know that you're like, it was a beautiful thing to come out of a weakness of yours that you're like, I can come up with a solution. It became a signature for you and it looks beautiful. My brother has 3 kids who are getting into baking, and some of them watch Bake Off. So I asked the oldest one, who's 18, because she makes a lot. So I was like, what questions would you have for Janusz? So she wants to know, when you're doing the drip and it's ganache, like chocolate, white chocolate or regular chocolate, how do you do it so that it drips properly? And do you have any kind of tips or advice for doing a ganache drip?
So it's really easy. I think when you work with it, you actually know what effect you're gonna get, because you can get it a bit thicker, you can get your ganache a bit thinner, depending what you want. So the thinner the ganache, the longer the drips. The thicker the ganache, the bigger the drips will be, and they will stay on top. So depending what you want, the easiest thing, heat your cream up before boiling point, add your chocolate, add your food coloring, transfer it to a ketchup bottle, sauce bottle with sort of thingy on top, and just wait until you touch it and it's just lukewarm. It's no longer warm to touch. It's sort of just below your skin temperature, and then you can start working with it. It's really easy. And with the bottle, you've got this sort of pressure element. When you hold it, you just pipe it, and you know how much you can put. People do it with a teaspoon as well, but you cannot really control it that well. So with a bottle, it's so much easier.
Okay, that's really helpful. I'll have to try to make one with her because I don't know how to bake very well at all. Looking at this show, I think the appeal, especially in America, is that because it's British, there's a certain charm to it, a lightness. It's not like our cooking shows where it's really intense and people are really competing and fighting and there's money involved. So I think watching Bake Off, it's
off the record.
It's a
I
good
found
showcase.
out. I know.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
You know what?
The competitive part of those shows when you've got the money prize on it. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing of Bake Off is watching. It's almost showcasing humanity. It's like people are helping each other. There's just tender moments. So I'm curious what it was like for you to be in the tent and with all these like-minded people. And, it seems like a lot of friendships get forged and all that. So, I'm curious, what was happening off camera in terms of bonding and supporting each other.
Bake Off, there's no money to be won. You're winning a cake stand. I can order them from eBay. They actually made them and they're like £25. Everybody can order it. It's not like something so special. Again, this is the title you're getting if you win. I understand. But the understanding of it is Bake Off is sort of battle of the ideas. So you've got an idea and you need to roll with it. And as well, it is sort of a battle of how the things are going. Because you know what, one mistake can lead to a massive disaster. And people on Bake Off make this mistake and try it starting from a scratch. And this never works out because there's not enough time. You've made a mistake, you need to regroup, replan, and how to avoid this element you just sort of messed up. But yeah, it is a battle of ideas. It's not a battle between people. You cannot be competitive because how will you be competitive? I don't know, if we're making, let's say, a cake, every single cake was different. Every single cake has different flavors. Every single cake looked differently as well. So I just don't understand how you can compete in this matter. And as well, I remember we were all very friendly to each other. So I remember there was the challenge of lemon meringue pie. And you know what? I've made lemon meringue pie multiple times. But because it was this challenge where you only had ingredients, like on the desk, you had only ingredients. And then it was technical. And then the recipe said, make the lemon meringue pie. And you know what? I've made them before. Of course, I've made them before. But I never used to make meringues cream of tartar. Yeah, and I've never made a meringue with cream or tartar because I've made meringues, they were stable. I didn't need to use it. So I just shouted, Maxi, when do you use cream of tartar? And she just shouted back to me, oh, when the eggs are slightly frothy. I was like, okay, great. I know how to use it now. And then when she was baking her pie, she removed the beans from the pie and her pie started sort of ballooning up. So I shouted, Maxi, you need to put a fork in your pie.
Stick a fork in it.
There was always some help with if somebody helped you, you will help them as well. So, it always works in your favor. Because if she didn't help me, she is not having a good pie. If she didn't help me as well, I wouldn't have a perfect meringue because something else they've expected. So it is a sort of battle of ideas only and how you execute them.
So speaking of support, I know on the show you had everybody being supportive, and you mentioned how Simon off the show had bought you a KitchenAid. How has it been since you've gotten some notoriety? How's your relationship been, and how's that evolved in with your fame?
I mean, our relationship is better than ever, and as well, Simon really loves to help me. So, if I'm super busy, he will help me with my Instagram. If I'm doing something, he will clean the kitchen after me. If I need to make something, he will clean the kitchen afterwards. So he understands, the pressures you can be under. And it's great. I couldn't have a bigger cheerleader than I've got in Simon.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And what about for your own kind of relationship with yourself? Because I remember reaching out to you when your show is airing, so it was kind of happening in real time where you started getting a bigger following, and then you were on award shows and different, you got a lot of opportunities since then. So yeah, what has that been like just for you to navigate?
I mean, it's really bizarre concept because overnight you suddenly become someone noticeable. It's something really I till this day sort of am this is very surreal. This is not happening to me. So it is a real surreal concept, which is really difficult to navigate because, some people are trained to do it and you're just being thrown at deep end where you sort of Bake Off is finishing, you need to find an agent. And I basically found an agent just because I knew I won't be able to navigate it myself. And I think finding a correct person to work with, it's really important because they can give you right advice real time. So, on the beginning, you really want to say yes to literally every single person. You want to say yes to everything, but you cannot. It's impossible that you will be doing it day and night. Plus, you need to have your own life. You're doing your own thing. And you need to remember when Bake Off was airing, I was still working full time. I had a job.
Yeah.
And this is a real bizarre concept because I was working for a digital company and I was implementing a system in a hospital, and I walked through the hospital door and all of the nurses were putting phone downs on patients oh my God, it's you. And I was like, okay, that's me.
With a syringe in the patient. They're like, let's take a selfie.
Yeah, there was only phone calls, they were on phones. It was a so that's fine. There wasn't any real patient contact, but yeah, like a really bizarre story. And yeah, like you need to sort of learn how to navigate you're doing your normal life, because you need to remember when Bake Off is airing, you are not allowed to do anything. Like you signed the contracts with them, so you cannot do any activity or anything, which makes sense because Bake Off is airing, and that should be your focus. Your focus on them. That's what you're doing, and yeah, like really difficult to navigate when you're working full time. You're living your normal life, but at the same time, it's not longer what it was like night before.
Right, and each week it changes because it's like, a new episode comes out and you get more fame and you do something that's noticeable. It's like, it's got to be interesting. Johnny Bear, I have like a million questions about the show, but it'll be like too fangirly. Johnny Bear, do you have any follow-up questions?
I think all of the questions were already answered by other people. It is what they tell you.
I know. Well, okay, my one question though, because I want to hear from your perspective, is what is it like to be around Paul Hollywood? Like, how do you, like, just looking into his eyes in person? I'm a little obsessed with him. So
yeah, I mean,
I'm just curious about your interactions.
Paul Hollywood on a camera, very critical, but this is his job. So yeah. I don't think this is necessarily coming from a bad place. This is his job. He needs to be overly critical. You've got 12 people who want to win. Like, if you find the littlest flaw that nobody else would notice and you're noticing it, you need to speak up. You need to say it, because for you, it is a flaw. Okay, somebody might not agree with him. Like, I love putting alcohol in my cakes. So that's Prue. She told me that my first bake was absolutely perfect and she loved it. And Paul Hollywood was like, too much alcohol, which I was like, I knew you're going to say it, but, I still put it because that's how I like my cakes. And
you're gay.
Prue.
You're like,
and okay, I understand. He was like, perfect textures, perfect flavors, everything looks great. It's just tiny bit too much booze. And I was like, I've actually pulled it down on the booze. I would even put more if it was just for my home use. But you know what? That's what it is. They need to like find this tiny little thing that, is wrong and comment on it, and it might seem really brutal, but if you know your stuff about baking and you are able to comment on those things when other people will not notice them and think it is not important. Off the camera, really great guy. Like everyone comes to the final, he tried to talk to my mom and I just had to intervene, and I was like, Paul, you're actually stressing my mom. She doesn't speak English, so, leave poor woman alone.
Since the show aired, or actually during the show, what have you learned about yourself personally and professionally? How have you grown?
So definitely the growth is there, because I've learned that being myself is, I was definitely right about this. Just be yourself. Like, I am now fully convinced that being myself is the best thing I can do. And of course, I've learned that I can really perform under very stressful circumstances. Like the world can be on fire and I would be like, it's okay, I've got this.
That's a huge skill to transfer to life. So as we start to wind down a little bit, we talked about your cookbook, and I encourage everyone to find it. And before we end, you'll let everyone know where to do that. What's next? Like, what are your kind of big goals, and what do you see in your future?
So, like, again, this is such a weird question, because like in this sort of industry, everything that will happen might have already happened. And as well, if you're gonna write another cookbook, then you need to remember that from writing to publishing, that's a year gap. So like everything that's happening, you're not allowed to really talk to. You can give people a little tease, like I might be doing something with TV, I might be writing a book, but I am not this kind of person who likes to brag about the stuff that will not happen for the next year or kind of things. I can say that I'm doing plenty of food festivals in UK. So I'm going to different towns, different cities, being on a stage, showing some great Polish recipes like dumplings or I will show something from my book, because some of the recipes in my book are actually Polish inspired. Like, they are sweet tacos. This bake actually exists in Poland, is in the same shape, same form. I just named it differently. I've got sweet nachos that are made from a Polish pastry. So, it's sort of a book that I can show some Polish stuff as well on those sort of food festivals.
That's fabulous.
One of the big attractions to you is that you exude confidence and being so present in yourself and your body. What would you say to somebody in the audience who may not have that kind of chutzpah, may not have that kind of feeling of confidence? What kind of advice do you give to anybody on that level?
I would say that I came from a place where, I couldn't be openly gay, and I was thinking, okay, I need to hide. I couldn't really be myself. So I would not say I was that confident in Poland. But when I came to UK, I realized that, yeah, I can be that confident, and I so should be that confident because I am not in wrong. And I would say to everyone that just being your true self will actually be the best for you, and you're gonna perform so well when you are yourself. Being yourself is the best policy. Just do it, trust yourself, and you're gonna be great.
Love it. Yeah, it takes courage, but you can slowly do it. And it sounds like for you, finding the right environment to be in.
And you need to remember, if the environment is not right, you might look for a different environment, because I realized that Poland was not right for me. I moved to UK and I found the right environment. So, those are some difficult life choices you need to make, but you can do it. It is possible.
So as we're winding down, we always ask our guests a few questions to get their insights. And I think for you, talking about being in the UK and being with your partner, and the friendships that are forged from Bake Off, what does community mean to you?
I mean, it is really important to be a part of community, because for me, what it means, if one person falls down, there is this support network to help them. And you need to remember that this person can be you. And if you're in trouble, you need something, you've got people around you to help you. And that would build community. It's simple as that, I think.
That's beautiful, and it's so important to have that support. And another question we have is, you have a very strong presence on your social media platform, but what if we can offer you something bigger, unlimited, like a giant global billboard? What kind of message would you put on that billboard to tell people?
So I can have a big screen on a Times Square. I will put love yourself.
Love yourself?
Love yourself. Or I would put, there are actually a couple of messages I would have to decide. Love yourselves is a great one. I could put, you are Beyonce. I could put, I am grateful for the body I've got. I would put, what else I could put? There's so many things in my mind. I could put so many that will be difficult to choose.
You're sexy as a drip cake.
Exactly. Have a cake and eat a cake. But I think I will go with you are Beyonce. That would be the strongest one.
Okay.
Just gonna say it's unlimited, so we'll put it all up there.
Okay.
Yeah, in Times Square it could be scrolling, so it could be like, you are Beyonce, eat a cake, love it. We have so much money, we can do whatever you want. Yeah. I love that so much. And then our final question, because the community that we run is called the Belly Club, and it's all body positive, and this is Belly Talk. When you see the word belly, or someone says the word belly to you, like, what comes up in your mind? What kind of reactions do you have to that word specifically?
When somebody says word belly, my belly comes to mind, or my boyfriend's belly comes to mind, and that's the reaction. Like, belly is great. I love bellies.
Love it. Yes.
I love bellies.
We do too. Well, Listen, you have so many great videos and you have your cookbook and all that, and I encourage our audience to follow you and to buy the cookbook and to learn from you and be entertained by you. So where do people find you? How do they follow you? How do they buy the cookbook?
So if you want to follow me, I think Instagram is the best choice because I've sort of missed up on Facebook opportunity because till this day I don't understand how to make a Facebook account open to everybody. And I've got probably like 50,000 requests of people wanted to befriend me, and clicking all of those, I'm like, I don't know. So I messed up with my Facebook on the very beginning, and 2 years on, I'm still very scared to repair it. So probably Instagram is the best way, Janusz Bakes. And if you want to buy my book, in USA, there's Target and there's Amazon that they're selling my book.
Yeah, I think that's where I found it. Maybe I Googled it or whatever, but on Amazon, yeah, I was able to order it to me, in the US. So yeah, definitely encourage everyone to do that. And, personally, like I said, I've been a huge fan of yours. I know for a fact that your presence and your courage to be authentic on TV and out in your life does have a major impact on people, for a variety of reasons. So I just want to honor you for doing that and just being you and being fabulous. So I really appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy that I could do it. And yeah, being yourself is a great policy. So trust me, just be yourself.
That's beautiful. You're quite the inspiration, and we wish you all the luck and all the success for you personally and professionally, and for Simon. And just thank you.
Thank you for having me. And now I need to run.
Have fun. Good luck with your event.
Bye, guys.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you so much for listening. You can head over to coachcub.com right away to join our Facebook community, the Belly Club. Check out upcoming retreats in Portugal and elsewhere. Learn more about my coaching and the classes I put on, and certainly reach out with any questions or topics that you'd like us to cover. Have a fabulous rest of your day.